On the day of our engagement banquet, my fiancé's first love suddenly showed up. Just as the ceremony was about to begin, Jiang Wanqing disappeared with Su Yishen. I searched everywhere like a madman. Then, in the parking lot, I found her kissing up to him and begging for his affection. Her white dress was spread across the ground, and her bare ankles looked pale against the cold concrete. Tears filled her eyes as she looked at him. Yichen, this is all my fault. I made you suffer. You said you'd marry me, Su Yichen said. So why did you choose Bai Jingzhen? Hit me if you want. I was wrong. As he spoke, he slid down beside her legs and dropped to his knees. I shouldn't have come back and disturbed your life. I'll call off the engagement. I'll marry you instead. I don't want to make things difficult for you. It's not difficult, Jiang Wanqing quickly said. Bai Jingzhen and I are only getting married because of a business alliance. He's never even touched me. So you've been waiting for me all this time? Jiang Wanqing nodded, and Su Yichen gently touched her face. I reached into my pocket and felt the ring box I had prepared for her. Then I laughed at myself. 3 hours of worry had turned into a complete joke. Without saying a word, I turned around and walked away. This time, I didn't look back. When I returned to the banquet hall, my father, Bai Fu, hurried over to me. He frowned when he saw the cold look on my face. What happened? Where's Wanqing? I forced out a smile. She'll be here soon. My father had no idea what was going on, so he nodded. Then why do you look so miserable? You're getting engaged. At least try to look happy. I kept smiling, even though there wasn't a trace of happiness in my eyes. Happy? Of course I'm happy. My father let out a sigh and patted my shoulder. You may be happy, but your mother was so upset that she couldn't even bring herself to come. Since you've made up your mind about this engagement, I won't say anything else. The host finished adjusting the equipment, and only then did Jiang Wanqing finally arrive, holding Su Yichen's hand. Zhang Fu's expression darkened immediately. You brat, where have you been? Why are you only showing up now? Jiang Wanqing's mother noticed Su Yichen and looked confused. Wanqing, who is this? He's my younger brother, Jiang Wanqing said. Zhang Fu immediately snapped at her. Stop standing around and pulling on each other. Let go of him and get on stage. Do you even know what time it is? Don't keep Yingchen waiting. Jiang Wanqing turned to Su Yichen and spoke to him in a soft, gentle voice. Wait here for me. I'll be right back. Okay. The second she turned away from him, that softness disappeared from her face. Her expression became cold as she quickly walked onto the stage. My father looked grim. He had always opposed this marriage, but I had insisted on it. My parents had tried countless times to talk me out of it, and in the end, they had no choice but to give in. My father glanced at Jiang Wanqing on stage and muttered, She doesn't even understand the importance of being on time at an event like this. I seriously don't know what you ever saw in her. I looked toward the stage, smiled faintly, shoved my hands into my pockets, and slowly walked up. Jiang Wanqing didn't even notice me. Her eyes were glued to Su Yichen in the crowd, and the two of them kept exchanging looks. Earlier, Su Yichen had privately told her that he wanted her to go through with the engagement. Jiang Wanqing had asked him why, and he had given her an unbelievably ridiculous answer. I think it's exciting. Because Su Yichen liked the idea, Jiang Wanqing agreed without hesitation. She was standing on that stage, but her heart had already gone back to him. Just as the host reached for the microphone, I suddenly grabbed it first. The entire room went silent. The guests stared at one another, completely confused. I raised the microphone to my lips. Thank you all for coming to my engagement banquet, but I'm sorry to say this engagement is officially cancelled. Jiang Fu was the first person to stand up. His voice shook with anger. Yingchen, what? What did you say? You're cancelling it? Jiang Wanqing's mother hurried to her feet too, panic written all over her face. Yingchen, what happened? Did you two have a fight? Jiang Wanqing rushed toward me and demanded, Bai Jingchen, what do you mean by this? You were the one who wanted this engagement, and now you're the one calling it off. Are you trying to humiliate me in front of everyone? As she spoke, she raised her hand to slap me. I stepped aside. Then I slapped her across the face. The crack echoed through the banquet hall. Jiang Wanqing screamed and fell to the floor. Jiang Fu rushed over with his wife and helped their daughter up. When he saw half of her face swelling red almost instantly, rage surged through him. Oh, Bai Jingchen, what the hell are you doing? Have you lost your mind? How dare you hit Wanqing? I smiled. Then I slapped him 4 times in a row. The anger on his face disappeared with every hit. Old Jiang, have you gotten so used to throwing your weight around that you forgot who you're talking to? Is something wrong with your brain? Stand up straight when you speak to me. The last slap landed especially hard. Jiang Fu went silent. In that moment, he finally woke up. He knew that the Jiang family had only managed to survive in S-City because the Bai family had supported them for years. Picking a fight with me was no different from asking for death. Jiang Wanqing's mother stood up, trembling. Jingchen, what is going on? Why are you doing this? I had someone bring me a chair. Then I sat down, crossed one leg over the other, and looked at them with a playful smile. I haven't treated the Jiang family badly, have I? Jiang Fu and his wife looked at each other and nodded quickly. I suddenly shouted, making both of them flinch. I told you to speak. Are you both mute now? Fine, very fine. I gave a cold laugh. If I've treated you so well, then why did your daughter betray me? Jiang Wanqing's mother looked stunned. Betray you? Jingjin, is there some kind of misunderstanding? I snapped my fingers. The huge screen behind me immediately lit up. A video began to play. A misunderstanding. Jiang Wanqing and Su Yichen's faces changed instantly. The footage showed their private meeting in the parking lot just moments ago. Ignoring the pain in her face, Jiang Wanqing rushed toward the screen to turn it off. Don't play it! Turn it off right now! Before she could reach it, I slapped her again and sent her crashing to the ground. I looked around at the guests with a mocking smile. No, let them watch. Let everyone see exactly what kind of woman the precious daughter of the Zheng group really is. Jiang Wanqing grabbed onto my pant leg and begged. Jingchen, let's talk about this at home. Please turn off the video. I crouched down, grabbed her by the hair, and forced her to look up at me. Now you're scared? When you were protecting your little boyfriend earlier, why weren't you scared then? When I loved you, you acted like you could do whatever you wanted to me. But now that I don't love you anymore, who the hell do you think you are? The video continued playing. Their conversation could be heard loud and clear. The guests began whispering among themselves and pointing at Jiang Wanqing. I can't believe it. She always acted so high and mighty, but she's actually this kind of person. She cheated on the Bai family's heir. The Jiang family is finished now. Then someone pointed at Su Yichen. Isn't that the man from the video? He actually had the nerve to stay here? Su Yichen's face turned pale. He turned around and tried to run, but the people I had arranged stopped him and dragged him in front of me. Jiang Wanqing immediately threw herself in front of him to protect him. Bye, Jingchen. Come after me if you want. Don't touch him! I slowly clapped my hands. Now this is what real love looks like. Jiang Fu hurried forward. Jingchen, I failed to discipline my daughter. I'll take this bastard away right now and make him kneel before you to apologize. Jiang Wanqing pulled away from him and said firmly, Dad, stay out of this. I never liked Bai Jingchen in the first place. You forced me into this relationship. The person I love is Yichen. Jiang Fu clutched his chest and nearly collapsed. Jiang Wanqing's mother quickly held him up, then turned toward her daughter and cried out in fury. You ungrateful girl! How can you say something like that? Jingchen treated you so well. He only treated me well because he thinks the Bai family is powerful, Jiang Wanqing shot back. Before the Bai family got involved, Yichen and I could have run the Jiang group just fine. I stood up and looked toward Su Yichen. At that moment, I noticed the faint smile at the corner of his mouth. So I calmly said, fine. Then our marriage agreement ends here. I smiled too, and walked towards Su Yichen. Jiang Wanqing tried to block me, but I pushed past her. Move. I stopped in front of Su Yichen, picked up a chopstick from a nearby table, and asked, Do you know what this is? Su Yichen swallowed hard and nodded without saying a word. I grabbed his hand, pressed it flat against the table, and spread his fingers apart. Then I drove the chopstick straight through his palm, and pulled it back out. Su Yichen let out a scream so loud that it echoed through the entire banquet hall. Jiang Wanqing rushed over and held him in her arms. Yichen, you bastard! I'll never forgive you. Call an ambulance. I threw away the chopstick in disgust and wiped my hands with a wet tissue. What bad luck. I actually got cheated on. Then I returned to the stage and picked up the microphone. Everyone, you've all seen what happened between the Bai family and the Jiang family. From this day forward, there will be no relationship between our families. If any of you have a grudge against the Jiang family, now is the time to settle it. After saying that, I threw down the microphone and walked away. For years, the Jiang family had used the Bai family's support to bully people across our city. Now that they had lost their biggest backer, plenty of people were already preparing to make them pay. In the hospital, Su Yichen lay in a bed, with his hand wrapped in layers of bandages. Jiang Wanqing sat beside him, her face full of worry. When Su Yichen opened his eyes, he immediately pulled her into his arms. Wanqing, don't leave me. Jiang Wanqing gently patted his back. I'm not going anywhere. I'll stay with you. Su Yichen looked full of guilt. I'm sorry. I'm the reason you had that falling out with Bai Jingchen. It has nothing to do with you. Jiang Wanqing comforted him. I never liked him anyway. Su Yichen looked delighted and leaned in to kiss her swollen lips. At that moment, Jiang Wanqing's mother burst into the room in a rage. She pointed at Jiang Wanqing and shouted, Jiang Wanqing, you animal! Your father is unconscious in the room next door, and you're in here making out with him? She walked over and slapped Jiang Wanqing across the face. Her already swollen cheek looked even worse now. Jiang Wanqing frowned and argued. Mom, the doctor said Dad passed out because he got too angry. Yikun lost so much blood. What's wrong with me staying here with him? Jiang Wanqing's mother shook with rage. What kind of spell did he put you under? You destroyed this entire family because of him. Is it wrong for me to pursue my own happiness? Jiang Wanqing snapped. I can run the Jiang group, and Yichen will help me. Her mother's heart finally went cold. Then stay here with him. She turned around and walked out. Su Yichen tugged gently at Jiang Wanqing's hand, pretending to be considerate. Wanqing, you should go check on your father. Don't make your mother any angrier. Jiang Wanking's heart softened instantly. Yichen, you're so good to me. I'll be right back. But just as she stood up, Su Yichen suddenly clutched his injured hand and cried out in pain. My hand hurts so much. Jiang Wanking panicked and ran out. What happened? I'll find a doctor. The second she left, Su Yichen calmly lowered his hand and lay back in bed. His eyes were full of calculation. Meanwhile, in the general manager's office at the Bai Group's S10 branch, I sat back and drank tea. My secretary, Chen Mo, walked in with a file. Mr. Bai, we found something. Su Yichen did study abroad, but the university he attended is ranked over 1,200. It's nothing impressive. I took the file, looked through it, and let out a cold laugh. I thought he was someone important. Turns out he's nothing but trash. Chen Mo asked, should we make a move? I waved my hand. No, just sit back and enjoy the show. Jiang Wanking used the Bai family's power to offend plenty of people before. Now that she has no one backing her, someone else will deal with her. Just as I expected, once the Bai family stopped supporting them, many small companies began competing with the Jiang Group. The Jiang family still had some wealth, so they hadn't taken a devastating hit yet. But inside the company, panic was already spreading. In her office, Su Wei handed Jiang Wanking a document. President Jiang, Huihe Company has unilaterally terminated their contract with us. Jiang Wanking didn't even care. She signed the document with a look of disdain. There are plenty of companies that want to work with the Jiang Group. Spread the word. We're reopening the supplier bids. Su Wei looked like she wanted to say something, but in the end, she simply nodded and left. After Su Wei walked out, Jiang Wanking received a bank notification on her phone. Over 8 million had been spent. A moment later, Su Yichen sent her a message with a photo of a Rolls-Royce. Wanking, does this look good? Jiang Wanking sent a voice message back, her tone full of affection. It looks great. You have amazing taste. Su Yichen sent another message. I also saw a Ferrari. Can I buy it? Jiang Wanking didn't hesitate. Of course, buy it. But she never expected that after the supplier bid announcement was released, not a single company would apply. And it didn't stop there. One partner after another began terminating their contracts with the Jiang Group. The penalties they paid were nowhere near enough to cover the losses caused by the stalled projects. Jiang Wanking threw the documents onto the floor, her face twisted with rage. Was this Bai Jingchen's doing? Is this really the only trick he has? The more she thought about it, the angrier she became. She grabbed her bag and rushed to the Bai Group. At the Bai Group lobby, Jiang Wanking tried to enter the executive elevator. A security guard stopped her. This elevator is for executives only. Please use the other one. Do you know who I am? Jiang Wanking demanded. The guard laughed coldly. Of course I know President Jiang, but Mr. Bai gave clear instructions. Jiang Wanking and dogs are not allowed inside. He said it loudly enough for everyone in the lobby to hear. Every pair of eyes turned toward Jiang Wanking. Whispers filled the room. Her face turned red as she forced down her anger. I need to see President Bai. The guard shrugged. Do you have an appointment? Mr. Bai is busy. He doesn't have time for the problems of random strays. After arguing for a while, the head of security finally reported the situation to Chen Mo. Once permission was granted, Jiang Wanking smugly went upstairs. In my office, I was sitting with my legs crossed, playing a game on my phone. Jiang Wanking stormed in and slammed her hand against my desk. Bai Jingchen, what the hell is this? You made suppliers terminate their contracts with us? Is this the best you can do? I looked up at her, set down my phone, and curled my finger. Wanking, come here. I'll tell you why. Jiang Wanking cautiously leaned closer. Before she could say another word, I slapped her across the face. She fell to the floor. Holding her cheek, she stared at me in disbelief. You dare hit me? I looked down at her, my voice ice cold. I dared to hit your father. What makes you think you're special? I must have been blind to fall for someone as brainless as you. And let me make something clear. This has nothing to do with me. But even if it did, what could you possibly do about it? I was already being generous by not digging deeper into what you and your little boyfriend did. Now get the hell out of my office. I picked up the phone and made a call. Security department. If Jiang Wanking ever comes here again, throw her out immediately. Right now, get her out of here. The guards dragged Jiang Wanking out of my office. For the first time, she felt regret. If she were still my girlfriend, she would never have been humiliated like this. The second she stepped out of the Bai Group building, her phone rang. Su Wei's tearful voice came through the line. President Jiang, this is bad. The directors are calling a board meeting. They want to remove you as president. Inside the Jiang Group conference room, the atmosphere was suffocating. More than 10 directors sat around the table. Jiang Wanking sat at the head of it. A middle-aged director spoke first. President Jiang, you can see the situation the Jiang Group is in right now. I don't think you're suitable to remain president. Another director agreed. That's right. The chairman is still in the hospital, and no one knows if he'll survive. As his daughter, you should be taking care of him. But we heard you've been spending all your time with your little boyfriend. Your father is unconscious, and you've barely visited him. The director spoke one after another. Jiang Wanking's face turned red with humiliation. She slammed her hand on the table. When I was making money for this company, Why didn't any of you say this? The company is only facing a little difficulty, and now you're all rushing to remove me. One director waved his hand dismissively. Enough. The company's profits had absolutely nothing to do with your management skills. With the buy group supporting us, even a pig sitting in the president's chair could make money. He looked at Jiang Wenqing with a mocking smile. President Jiang, don't tell me you actually thought you made that money through your own ability. If that's what you believe, then we definitely have to remove you. I'm not leaving my investment in the hands of an idiot. His words were brutal, and they hit exactly where it hurt. Jiang Wenqing was so furious that she couldn't speak. You... The director pressed on. What? I'm only telling the truth. Which director here doesn't feel the same way? President Jiang, I suggest you resign on your own. The company might still be saved. But if you insist on holding on to this position, I'll withdraw my investment. A female director spoke with a serious expression. Me too. Another director said, same here. Then another one added, and me. At this point, if we pull out, we might still recover something. If we keep dragging this out, we'll lose everything. Jiang Wenqing gritted her teeth. You people are going too far. One shareholder gave her a sarcastic smile and glanced at her swollen face. President Jiang, we heard you went to the buy group before this meeting. That face of yours. Don't tell me you got shut down over there. After saying that, she turned toward the other shareholders and laughed without restraint. Jiang Wenqing sneered. The Jiang family owns 57% of the Jiang group. You have no right to remove me. The moment she said that, every shareholder's face turned cold. Chen Shengdao, the third largest shareholder after the Jiang family, narrowed his eyes. So, President Jiang, you're planning to keep holding on to the president's position? Yes, Jiang Wenqing said firmly. The Jiang group belongs to the Jiang family, not to you people. You're nothing but people who sit back and enjoy the profits. Chen Shengdao's face turned dark with anger. Fine, very fine. Then there's no reason for me to stay here. She stood up and walked straight out of the conference room. One by one, the other shareholders got up and left as well. Once everyone was gone, Jiang Wenqing swept every document off the table in fury. These bastards! When the company was making money, none of them complained. Now they're all trying to force me out. Just then, the conference room door opened. Su Yichen stood quietly at the entrance. The hand I had pierced days earlier was still wrapped in thick bandages. The moment Jiang Wenqing saw him, her angry expression disappeared and turned into joy. Yichen, you're here. Su Yichen smiled and glanced at the mess on the floor. Then he wrapped an arm around Jiang Wenqing's slim waist. What happened here? Jiang Wenqing didn't resist. Instead, she leaned into his arms and spoke in a hurt voice. Yichen, they're all bullying me. When are you going to come help me? Su Yichen froze for a moment. Then he smiled and raised his bandaged hand, showing that he wasn't in any condition to help. I want to help you too, but look at my hand. Jiang Wenqing immediately held his hand with concern, her eyes turning red. I understand, Yichen. I know you want to help me. Focus on recovering first. We'll talk after your hand gets better. Su Yichen sighed. Wenqing, I understand what you're dealing with. I heard the Bai family is very powerful. Jiang Wenqing looked up at him with love in her eyes and nodded. Su Yichen's eyes shifted as another thought crossed his mind. What about the Bai family's influence overseas? Jiang Wenqing thought for a moment. The Bai family does have influence overseas, but it's nowhere near as strong as it is here. Su Yichen nodded thoughtfully. I see. 1 month later, inside a private room at the 41 Luxury Club, Jiang Wenqing's face was flushed red. She held a glass of red wine in both hands and respectfully raised it toward a black man sitting beside her. Mr. Mike, I'd like to toast you. Mike leaned back in his chair with an arrogant expression. He casually lifted his wine glass and spoke in broken Chinese. President Jiang, you're too polite. Su and I are good friends. You're his girlfriend, so I'll definitely help you with this. Jiang Wenqing's face lit up with excitement. She raised her head and took a sip of wine. Thank you so much, Mr. Mike. Mike also. Mike smiled and took a small sip of wine. At that moment, Su Yichen spoke up. Wenqing Mike and I are like brothers. His family is a major force in America. With him helping you, the Bai family is nothing. Jiang Wenqing nodded repeatedly, her face full of gratitude. Thank you, Yichen. Su Yichen wrapped an arm around her waist, pulled her closer, and casually chatted with Mike like they were the best of friends. Don't be so formal, Wenqing. I'm your boyfriend after all. After several rounds of drinks and a table full of food, the dinner was nearly over when Mike suddenly said, I heard Chinese music and nightlife are amazing. Since we have time tonight, I want to go have some fun. What do you think, President Jiang? By then, Jiang Wenqing's cheeks were already flushed. She was clearly tipsy, but she still instinctively looked at Su Yichen. He gave her a reassuring look. Wenqing, I'll go with you. Mike is an important client. We can't give him poor hospitality. Jiang Wenqing nodded obediently. Then let's go to the club's karaoke lounge. Of course, Mike said. Let's go now. Su Yichen glanced at Jiang Wenqing. Whatever you want. Jiang Wenqing stood up. I'm going to the restroom first. Yichen, you and Mike wait for me in the lobby downstairs. Okay, Wanking. Without bringing her phone, Zhang Wanking headed towards the restroom. The second she left the private room, Mike's face darkened. Sue, are we really going through with this? Su Yichen held up one finger. Mike, just trust me. This woman is incredibly stupid. We'll take the money, split it 50-50, and go enjoy ourselves overseas. The Jiang Group may have lost value, but we can still get at least this much from her. Mike frowned. How much? Su Yichen slowly gave him the number. $10 million. Mike immediately sat up straight, greed flashing in his eyes. That much? Of course, Su Yichen said confidently. And that's a conservative estimate. $10 million was more than enough for Mike to stop working as a bodyguard and live comfortably for the rest of his life. His small eyes kept shifting as he calculated the future in his head. Then, Jiang Wanking's phone, which she had left on the table, began to vibrate. Su Yichen glanced at the caller ID, and his expression immediately turned dark. He cursed under his breath, then blocked the number. That old hag again. What a pain! Meanwhile, Jiang Wanking stumbled out of the women's restroom, her face still red from the alcohol. I was standing near the sinks, washing my hands. The second she saw me, she reacted like an angry cat. Bai Jingchen, what are you doing here? Were you following me? I shut off the faucet and turned around. Jiang Wanking pointed at me furiously. Before I could even speak, she continued accusing me. Bai Jingchen, you're disgusting. But so what if you are following me? The Max Group is investing in the Jiang Group this time. Do you understand? They're one of the top 10 conglomerates in America. Even the Bai family isn't worth a fraction of what they are. I hadn't planned on wasting my time with her. But when I heard the name Max Group, I frowned. You said the Max Group? Jiang Wanking lifted her chin proudly. Who else? Once the Jiang Group gets an order from the Max Group, what can your Bai family possibly do to me? I let out a quiet laugh. Congratulations. Then I turned around and walked away. Jiang Wanking froze. Why wasn't I scared? Why didn't I even look shocked? That was the Max Group. There was no way I didn't know who they were. I had just reached the outside of a private room when I stopped. I gestured to my bodyguard, leaned close, and gave him a few quiet instructions. Then I walked into the room next door. Inside sat a young American man in a custom-made suit. He had blonde hair, blue eyes, and a powerful build. He was John Max, the first-in-line heir of the Max family. The second John saw me, he smiled brightly. He pointed at the dishes on the table, while eating with obvious enjoyment. Come on, Bai, this food is incredible. The Chinese restaurants in my country can't even come close to this flavor. I sat down and smiled. John, you're the Max family's top heir. If you want Chinese food, it shouldn't be hard to find. John waved his hand. Chinese food isn't hard to find. This flavor is. Every time I come here, I have to satisfy my appetite first. We both laughed. Then I asked casually, John, I heard your family plans to work with the Jiang Group this time. John looked up confused. The Jiang Group? I've never heard of them. We have no plans to work with them. The situation became clear to me immediately. Either John was lying, Jiang Wanking was lying, or Jiang Wanking had been fooled. The first two possibilities were almost impossible. So there was only one answer. She had been played. John suddenly became serious, then smiled. Actually, the Max family plans to expand our business in China. I intend to hand the project over to the Bai Group. As the saying goes here, don't let the benefits go to outsiders. I laughed. John, you've spent too much time in China. You're already using Chinese sayings. John raised his glass with a smile. I like this country. For more than 2 hours, we discussed the details of our cooperation. By the end, we had reached an agreement. Then my bodyguard knocked on the door, entered, and whispered something into my ear. I looked surprised for a moment. Then I smiled. I gave my bodyguard a few instructions, and he left. John looked curious. By what happened? Did something good happen? I smiled. John, tomorrow I'll take you to watch a show. John paused, then laughed. A show? Chinese opera has been passed down for thousands of years. It might be interesting. I gave him a mysterious smile. Not opera, a real show. And I guarantee it'll be unforgettable. John smiled. Then, I'm looking forward to it. Inside the karaoke room, Mike, Su Yichen, and Jiang Wanking eventually walked out together. Jiang Wanking was completely limp, supported between the two men like she couldn't even stand on her own. Mike looked uneasy. Su, is this really okay? Su Yichen looked around impatiently. Mike, you're way too nervous. Just enjoy tonight. Tomorrow, I'll explain everything to her. But what if she finds out? Su Yichen gave a cold laugh. That'll be tomorrow's problem. Once the contract is signed and the money comes in, we'll already be gone. Mike grinned. Su, you really are a bastard. Jiang Wanking didn't hear a single word of their conversation. She was dragged into a hotel room. The next morning, Su Yichen was awakened by a loud knock at the door. He instinctively looked beside him. Mike was lying on top of Jiang Wanking. Su Yichen's face drained of color. He rushed over and shook Mike awake, glaring at him as he lowered his voice. Are you insane? Didn't I tell you to leave early this morning? What if that idiot wakes up? Get dressed and get out. I'll get breakfast. Thinking it was room service, Su Yichin went to open the door. But outside stood a crowd of reporters, each one holding a camera directly at him. The moment they saw Su Yichin, their eyes lit up. That's him! He's the man who was getting intimate with President Jiang at young Master Bai's engagement banquet. One reporter shoved past Su Yichin and rushed into the room. President Jiang really is in here. Only then did Su Yichin realize what was happening. But it was too late. A swarm of reporters poured into the room and began taking pictures nonstop. Mike hadn't even finished getting dressed. When he saw the cameras, he quickly covered his face. Look, isn't that Jiang Wanqing, the president of the Jiang Group, on the bed? My God, President Jiang really knows how to have fun. No wonder President Bai canceled the engagement. I wouldn't want her either. Su Yichin panicked and tried to block the reporters from seeing Jiang Wanqing. But it didn't matter. They ignored him completely. Get out. Stop taking pictures. Don't take any more pictures. Mike curled up in the corner, shaking in fear. The noise finally woke Jiang Wanqing. She groaned, raised her hand, and rubbed her aching head. Everything felt dizzy and blurry, but the reporter's questions instantly sobered her up. President Jiang, can you explain your relationship with these two men? President Jiang, what is your relationship with this black man? President Jiang, do you think President Bai was right to break off the engagement with you? Jiang Wanqing's entire body froze. Her pupils shrank. She mechanically looked down at herself, then let out a terrified scream. She grabbed the blanket and desperately wrapped it around herself. I'm going to sue you. I'm calling the police. She turned around and shouted, Mike! Call the police, Mike! But no one was behind her. Su Yichin was already gone. He had run away. Outside the room, I leaned against the wall with an amused expression. John stood beside me, his face cold as he looked at Mike, who had been pinned to the ground by my bodyguards. Mike looked completely hopeless. He didn't even dare lift his head. John shouted furiously, Mike, you are a disgrace to the family. I'm deeply disappointed in you. When we return to America, you'll receive the harshest punishment possible. Mike's legs gave out, and he collapsed to the floor. His tiny eyes stared at the ground in complete disbelief. I smiled. John, I didn't expect him to be your bodyguard. John looked at me gratefully. Thank you. If you hadn't exposed him, who knows what kind of trouble that bastard could have caused while working beside me. I'll make sure he pays for this. I didn't care much. Handle him however you want. At that moment, my phone rang. I checked the caller ID. After hesitating for a moment, I answered. An anxious voice immediately started yelling through the phone. I picked at my ear and replied casually. Whether he dies or not has nothing to do with me. Your precious daughter is at a hotel, having fun with her little boyfriend. Go find her. What? She blocked you. Then there's nothing I can do about that. The person on the other end kept rambling. I became impatient. His death was caused by me? If that's what you think, then go sue me. Don't scream at me like this. Being old doesn't give you the right to yell at everyone. You know exactly what your daughter did. I paused, and a trace of mockery entered my voice. But honestly, I feel more balanced now. Someone who doesn't even care when her own father dies. Who could she possibly care about? Then I hung up and blocked the number too. John looked at me curiously. What happened? I shook my head. Nothing. Just someone unimportant. Inside the room, Jiang Wanqing stared at Su Yichin. Amid the chaos, she had finally pieced together what had happened. She never imagined that the man she loved most had personally pushed her toward another man. Cold sweat covered Su Yichin's forehead. Any explanation would sound pathetic now. Jiang Wanqing might have been foolish, but she wasn't stupid. Her own body had told her the truth. She had never felt pain like this before. Biting her lip to hold back her tears, she glared at him and said, Su Yichin, you animal! Su Yichin immediately dropped to his knees and grabbed her legs. Wanqing, I was wrong. I really was wrong. Jiang Wanqing had finally woken up. She kicked him in the chest and screamed, You bastard! I loved you so much, and this is how you treated me. Su Yichin cried as he begged. Wanqing, I just lost my head for a moment. Please forgive me this one time. But Jiang Wanqing was no longer the same woman she had been before. She slapped him hard across the face. Get out! Get the hell out! When begging didn't work, Su Yichin finally stopped pretending. He stood up with a cold smile, his expression turning vicious. Who are you calling foolish? Bai Jingchen treated you so well, and didn't you still hook up with me? At first, I thought you were some capable woman. But it turns out everything you had came from Bai Jingchen. What ability do you, Jiang Wanqing, actually have? Without him, you're useless! Do you understand? Your company has no orders. No one would even want you as a drinking companion now. They all think you're filthy. And now you're blaming me? Didn't you used to call me your husband? Every word Su Yichin said cut into Jiang Wanqing like a knife. She couldn't fight back. She had regretted her choices before. When she was with me, the company had prospered. Orders never stopped coming in, and I had treated her with care. I never let her go without the luxury she wanted. But Su Yichin had nothing except the title of her so-called first love. He only knew how to spend her money. In business, he was completely useless. She had believed Soo-yichun could connect her to the Max Group and turn everything around. But it was all a scam. Only then did she realize how stupid she had been. In despair, Jang Won-king grabbed her phone and dialed the police. Soo-yichun panicked. He reached for the phone, but Jang Won-king dodged him. "What are you doing?" He knew exactly how serious the consequences would be if the police got involved. "Won-king, don't be impulsive!" Jang Won-king didn't even look at him. "I want to report a crime." The police arrived and took Soo-yichun away. As he passed by me, I could clearly see the defeat and despair on his face. The farce had finally ended, and I had achieved what I wanted. I looked toward the room, then turned to leave. A weak voice called out behind me, "Bai Jing-chen." I looked back. Jang Won-king stood at the doorway, fully dressed now. Her face was pale, her hair a mess, and one hand held tightly to the doorframe to keep herself standing. I crossed my arms and leaned against the wall. "Well, President Jang, you finally came out. Did you have fun?" Jang Won-king looked miserable. "It was you, wasn't it?" I shrugged and admitted it openly. "Yes, I had to let the public see President Jang for who she really is." Jang Won-king gave a bitter laugh. "After what I did to you, it's only fair that you wanted revenge." She was silent for a moment. Then she looked up at me. "Bai Jing-chen, do you still love me?" I almost laughed. "Love you? I love you so much, Jang Won-king." "Seriously, I can't understand how your brain works. What exactly am I supposed to love about you? Should I love that you cheated on me? Or should I love that you're stupid beyond saving?" I waved my hand and turned away. "What an idiot!" Behind me, Jang Won-king suddenly shouted. Then she dropped to her knees, tears pouring down her face. "Bai Jing-chen, I regret it. I really regret everything." I stopped walking, but I didn't turn around. "You don't regret it. You just realized how unbelievably stupid you've been, and now your company is about to collapse." "No, that's not it." I didn't want to waste another second arguing with her. I started walking again. "Whether it is or not doesn't matter. What matters is that I know what you are." After taking a few steps, I looked back one last time. "Oh, and your mother called earlier. She said your father died. She couldn't reach you, so I answered the call for you." Jang Won-king looked like she had been struck by lightning. She knew I wouldn't joke about something like that. She rushed back into the room, grabbed her phone, and called her mother. No answer. She called again and again. After 7 or 8 attempts, the line still wouldn't connect. Jang Won-king couldn't think about anything else anymore. She rushed to the parking garage, got into her car, and drove straight to the Jang family home. When she arrived at the Jang family villa, white funeral ribbons hung throughout the courtyard. It was obvious that a funeral was underway. The moment Jang Won-king stepped out of her car, her legs went weak. She nearly fell. Slowly, she dragged herself toward the entrance and entered through facial recognition. Inside, Jang family relatives stood in black clothing, their expressions solemn. In the center of the courtyard was a large portrait of her father. A middle-aged man saw her and immediately stormed toward her. "Jang Won-king, get out!" It was her second uncle, Jang Zhen. Jang Won-king's voice shook. "Second uncle, I'm not leaving." Jang Zhen gave a cold laugh. "You're not leaving. Your father is dead. Your mother called you because she wanted you to see him one last time, and you blocked her number. Where were you then? Now you know to come back. You're disgusting." Tears filled Jang Won-king's eyes as she lowered her head and kept shaking it. "Second uncle, I didn't know." "I really didn't know!" Jang Zhen pointed at her furiously. "You didn't know? Your father was seriously ill, and you didn't know. Your mother called you so many times, yet you never answered once. You never visited him once. You were too busy fooling around with that bastard. Now go find him. No one can call you anymore." The other Jang family members began criticizing her too. Won-king seemed so well-behaved when she was young. How did she become such a terrible person? Who would have thought? For some pretty boy, she abandoned her own father? Young Master Bai treated her so well. He was handsome, wealthy, and devoted to her. But she threw it all away and destroyed herself. Jang Won-king's face turned red with shame. She dropped to her knees again. "I'm not leaving. Second uncle, please don't drive me away." At that moment, Jang Won-king's mother walked over. "Second brother, let me speak to her." Jang Won-king raised her head. When she saw her mother's swollen eyes, pain tightened around her heart. But her mother showed no emotion. Her voice was flat. "Your father's condition had been improving. The doctor said he just couldn't get angry. Then news reached him that the Jang Group's shareholders were withdrawing their investments on a large scale. He couldn't take the shock. And then he was gone." She stared coldly at Jang Won-king. "Go kowtow to your father. Then leave the Jang family." Jang Won-king looked up in shock. "Mom, what do you mean, leave the Jang family?" "I'm your daughter." Her mother suddenly shouted, "Not anymore! From yesterday onward, you stopped being my daughter. Whatever bond we had as mother and daughter is over." In the end, everyone drove Jang Won-king out of the Jang family home. Not one person spoke up for her. She collapsed outside the gates of the Jang estate, her eyes empty. This had once been her home. Now, it had become a place she was forbidden to enter. She didn't blame anyone else. She only blamed herself for being so stupid. She had thrown me away to chase an illusion from her past. Her family was gone. Her company was nearly gone. And now she had nothing left. Half a year later, Secretary Chen Ming entered my office at the Bai Group with a file and a smile. Mr. Bai, the Max Group is extremely satisfied with the first phase of our partnership. They plan to send people here next Monday to discuss the second phase. I looked through the documents and nodded. How much are they planning to invest in the second phase? The preliminary budget is $15 billion. Funding will be more than sufficient. Good, I said. I understand. Reply to the Max Group and tell them I'll personally meet them on Monday. Chen Ming nodded, but he didn't leave right away. He looked hesitant. I raised my head. What is it? Do you have something on your mind? Chen Ming lowered his voice. Mr. Bei, Chen Shuyun is dead. I was stunned for a moment before remembering that Chen Shuyun was Jiang Wanking's mother. In only half a year, I had almost forgotten that name entirely. Without much emotion, I asked, how did she die? Chen Ming explained, we heard Su Yichen was released on medical parole. He went to the Jiang family home intending to kill Jiang Wanking. When he couldn't find her, he went after Chen Shuyun instead. The scene was terrible. Afterward, Su Yichen was arrested at the scene. He'll probably receive either the death penalty or life in prison. I gave a faint laugh. So Jiang Wanking really did end up getting both of her parents killed. Chen Ming paused. When you put it that way, I guess you're not wrong, I joked coldly. She cheated on me, betrayed me, and left me. Somehow, that turned out to be my good fortune. Looking at it now, anyone who gets close to Jiang Wanking doesn't seem to end well. Outside the window, heavy rain poured down from the sky. It crashed against the asphalt, like the heavens had split open. In the middle of the road, Jiang Wanking ran barefoot through the storm. Icy rain soaked through her white nightgown, pressing the fabric against her thin body. Her long hair clung to her face and neck. She no longer looked anything like the proud president she once was. As she ran, she screamed wildly into the rain. Within half a year, she had lost both of her parents. The devastating grief had pushed her to the edge of collapse. She was so broken that she could barely remember who she was anymore. Not far away, the headlights of a truck tore through the curtain of rain. The storm had reduced visibility to almost nothing. The driver never saw the figure standing in the middle of the road. Jiang Wanking slowly turned toward the blinding lights. But in that moment, she didn't feel fear. She felt relief. The next second, she closed her eyes. And her life came to an end.